Good morning everyone. Today in this video we will learn about the most important concept of continuity with respect to most important function, that is greatest integer function. So over here we have question number 19 of exercise 5.1 NCERT. The question says show that the function defined by this gx x minus greatest integer x is discontinuous at all integral points, and it is very clearly written in the question that the square brackets represent greatest integer less than or equal to x, right? So whenever with this bracket the explanation is written like that this is a greatest integer function, then only we are supposed to take it as a greatest integer function, otherwise we treat it as a square bracket only, right? Okay, so what we have to do, we have to prove that it is discontinuous at integral point. It means we have to prove that it is continuous at the non-integral point. We'll say let C be any non-integer point, right? So let first of all C be any non-integer point. Non-integer means what? Non-integer means, let's say C is 4.56, right? I'm just taking an example so that for your clarity, right? So C be any non-integer. Non-integer means the decimal numbers, the fractional numbers, the rational numbers, other numbers other than the whole numbers like minus 1, 1. Whole number means the complete number, not in decimal. Okay? So non-integers. So let's take C to be 4.56. Now what we have to prove that this particular function, let's check whether it is continuous or not. So what we will do, we will take the left hand limit. Let's say limit x tending to C minus fx, gx over here. So let's write it as limit x tending to C minus. So for this particular thing, I'll just use my definition. Let h tends to 0. I'll write it as C minus h, and over here also C minus h. So that for better clarity, I'm just writing using this definition. Now over here C minus h, if I just use split the limit, so it will be limit h tending to 0 C minus h, limit h tending to 0 C minus h for this greatest integer function. Over here I'll get C, h is 0, so I'll get C. Now just observe this greatest integer function over here, C minus h. What is C over here? 4.56. And what is h? Almost tending to 0, very very small value. If I subtract 0.01 from 4.6, will it be less than 4? Yes, you are right. It will not be less than 4. So, greatest integer function for that number, let's say h is, just try to understand, h is 0.1 and C minus h will be 4.56 minus 0.1. So, it will be 4.46. What will be the greatest integer of 4.46? Greatest integer, what does it do? It just eliminates the fractional part. So what will be the greatest integer function? 4. So over here it will be the same thing, right? So over here I'll just write it as A. Whatever answer I'll be getting, let's say C. C minus h over here I'll get C, right? So 4.46 over here will be C because it was 4.56 something. So it will be 4. So C minus C will be 0, right? Okay, similarly, let's take the right hand limit. So x tending to C plus gx. This is limit h tending to 0. This is C plus h minus C plus h over here. So over here, this will be C as we did in this case, and if I put the limit over here C plus h, again let's take the same example. So 4.56 plus 0.1, it will be 4.66. If I take the greatest integer, again it will be 4. So taking left and right does not change the nature of the greatest integer function. This is the basic point that I want to emphasize on. So again the answer is 0. So what do we observe? If C is any non-integer point in decimal, if I take value which is slightly less and slightly more than that number, the value of greatest integer function will not change. Since both the sides are equal, so it means limit exists, and if I find g of value, any value C, it will also come out to be 0 because that will be C minus C, 0. right? So all the three things are equal. It means it is continuous for all non-integer points. So what we will say? Therefore, since left hand limit h tending to c minus gx is equal to limit x tending to c plus gx is equal to g of c. Therefore, the given function is continuous for all non-integral points, right? Okay, now let's take CB an integer. Now let's see, I'll just explain you with an example so that the concept is very, very clear, because this is very important. So if C is an integer, let's say C is 4, right? Okay, so I'll take left hand limit. So if I take left hand limit, it is limit x tending to C minus gx, right? So let's put that definition. So it will be limit h tending to 0. It will be c minus h minus c minus h, right? Over here, if I put the limit, this will be 0, right? If I put it over here, that is c minus h. Let's see what will happen. Let's take h to be 0.1. So c minus h. It means 4 minus 0.1. What will I get? 3.9. So 3.9 means if it was 4 minus something, c was 4, and if I subtract something from it, I am getting the answer of greatest integer function as integer, which is less than that particular number. So if it is c minus h over here, what will I get? I will get c minus 1, right? Just try to observe. It was 4 minus 0.1. I have just taken a simplest example, 0.1. So if I subtract anything from 4, I will get the answer less than 4. So if it is less than 4, it means the greatest integer of that will be 3. Right? Because the greatest integer function, what does it do? It just scraps off the fractional part. Similarly, if it is c minus h, so what will I get? If I subtract very small value h from c, so greatest integer value will be 1 less than c. So it is c minus 1, right? So this is c minus c plus 1. So what will I get? 1. That is my left hand side. Just see the right hand side. So if I see the right hand side, it is limit x tending to c plus gx. This is limit h tending to 0, c plus h minus c plus h, right? Over here it is c, and if I see it over here, just try to understand again. This is h again, this is c plus h, so 4 plus 0.1. So it will definitely be greater than 4. Whatever I add, whatever small value I add to 4, it will be greater than 4. So greatest integer function for this will be 4. So if I write the greatest integer function of c plus h, will it be c? Right? Because whatever I add to c, it is very, very small, not more than the next consecutive integer. So it will always come out to be c, right? So here it is c minus c, 0. So what do we observe? The left hand limit is not equal to right hand limit, right? Only this deferred integer and non-integral is making this particular difference in the question, right? So this function is discontinuous at all integral points. The same steps you have to do if the question is simply greatest integer function, right? Okay, so question number 34, a different type of question. Now what we have, fx is equal to mod x minus mod x plus 1. In the question, what we have to do, we have to find all points of discontinuity. Again, so what we will do is, given a question like this, we will always redefine this question. How? First of all, we will write the definition of mod. So mod x is equal to x when x is greater than equal to 0. It is minus x when x is less than 0. Similarly, mod x plus 1, this is x plus 1 when x is greater than equal to minus 1, and minus of x plus 1 when x is less than minus 1, right? So now what we will do, we will see these 4 conditions. Out of these 4 conditions, since we have to redefine our function, what do you feel is the smallest condition? Yes, you are right. X is less than minus 1. Now, next condition will always be between the two values. So, what are the two values in which between which I can fix my x? So, over here I have x greater than equal to minus 1 and less than 0. Then last, x greater than equal to 0. Over here, I'll just first of all redefine my question. So, it is x less than minus 1. So in place of mod x, just see, I'll write in place of mod x and in place of mod x plus 1. So x is less than minus 1 means, just observe for mod x, whenever x is less than 0, it is minus x. So when x is less than 0, then mod x is minus x. So if x is less than minus 1, then also mod x will be minus x, right? So it is minus over here. Then we have minus sign. Then mod x plus 1 for x less than 0 will be minus of x plus 1, right? Then we will solve it later on. First let's write. Then x is greater than equal to minus 1, but it is still less than 0. Now it's clearly less than 0, so mod x will be minus x. Then minus, this will be positive. So it is x plus 1. Then for the last condition, x greater than equal to 0, so this mod x will be x. And if it is greater than 0, it means it is greater than minus 1. So this will be positive, right? So let's solve it up and see what we are getting. So we are getting over here minus x plus x and minus 1. So this will be minus 1. Over here this will be minus 2x minus 1, and this will come out to be as, over here this was plus 1, this will come out to be as minus 1. Over here if I solve, so this is x less than minus 1, x greater than equal to minus 1 less than equal to less than 0. This is x greater than equal to 0, right? Now what we have to do is, we simply have to prove that this function, we have to check the continuity. And how do we check continuity? Means we have, since we have 2 points minus 1 and 0, we will have 5 cases. What all 5 cases we will have? We will have first case as c belongs to minus infinity to minus 1. Then we will have c is between minus 1 and 0. And then we will have c belongs to 0 to infinity. These 3 cases where we always find it to be continuous. Then we will check at minus 1 and then we will check at 0, right? So what is my question? My question has changed to this particular form. And do remember, for all these questions, whenever two mod are involved and we have a minus sign in between, there is a pattern of doing these type of questions, right? Just grab the pattern. What is the pattern? If we have mod and minus sign in between, first and last will be opposite of each other, and in between we will have a different function, right? Always. If it is plus sign, we will have function here and constant value over here. If it is minus sign, we will have function value over here and constant value in the first and last place. These will always be opposite in sign to each other, right? So this will, how we will check? Let's proceed further. Okay. So let's check the continuity now. The 3 cases we have already discussed. So I'll just check at the points. So for, let's say c is equal to minus 1, I'll just find the left hand limit. So minus 1 minus will be over here, it will be 1. So I'll just write 1, and limit x tending to minus 1 plus will be, limit x tending to minus 1 plus will be minus 2x minus 1. So if I put minus 1 over here, this will also come out to be 1. If f of minus 1 will also be 1. So all the 3 are equal, hence it is continuous at minus 1. And for 0, limit x tending to 0 minus, again it will be limit x tending to 0. This is minus 2x minus 1, so minus 1. And limit x tending to 0 plus will be limit x tending to 0, this is minus 1, so minus 1, f of 0 will also be minus 1. All the 3 are equal, so again it is continuous. See now what difference there would have been if we would have plus sign over here, right? So the same definition we will be writing as we did in the first case. Again we will redefine our function. So again we will have x less than minus 1, x is greater than minus 1, less than 0, x is greater than equal to 0, right? So for first, when x is less than minus 1, so over here again it will be minus x, and this will also be minus, so it will be minus x plus 1, right? Then second, this will be minus and this will be plus. Then for the third, both will be positive. Now just see the difference. So it will be minus 2x plus 1, this will be 1, and this will be 2x. This will be minus 2x minus 1, this will be minus 2x plus 1, x less than minus 1, greater than minus 1, 0, greater than equal to 0. So over here, what did I tell you? We'll have constant in between and these two will be opposite in sign and will be in terms of a variable. And when we have minus sign, we will have variable in between, and both the other functions will be constant opposite in sign. So these type of functions are known as bucket function because the graph that they give comes out to be in the shape of a bucket or glass. So these are the special category of function. Again, we will prove it in the same way as we did for the previous one, right? We have a couple of very important questions, the questions that have been asked in board exam. So this is one of the type. It says you have to find the value of k when this particular function is continuous at x is equal to 0. So we will write our standard line. It says since the function is continuous, so limit x tending to 0, fx is equal to f of 0, which is k over here. So we will have the only basic task is to solve the limit, that is 1 minus cos 4x upon 8x square. Just try to recall all the techniques that we have learnt in class 11. So whenever we see the type 1 minus cos 4x, we have to apply the formula 2 sin square 2x upon 8x square. Now over here, what do we mean? Sin square 2x means the square of the angle as well. So what do I need? I need 4x square in the denominator. So I'll just cut it over here. So we will have limit x tending to 0. I can write it as sin 2x upon 2x whole square, which is 1 by the identity limit x tending to 0. So this is equal to what? K. So what is the value of k? K is 1 over here, right? Similarly, we have next question, very important. So now what we have, this question has also come in board exam a couple of times. Now what we have, again we have to find the value of a, and the function is given to be continuous. So the function is defined like this. So we will again use our standard form since the function is continuous. So left hand limit is equal to right hand limit is equal to value of the function, right? So left hand limit, that is 0 minus, is equal to the right hand limit is equal to the value of the function, right? So over here, I'll just write it as x tending to 0. So for less, it is 1 minus cos 4x upon x square, which is equal to limit x tending to 0 under root of x under root of 16 plus under root of x. Just observe, the root is still here, minus 4, and this is equal to a. So the main task is to solve these two limits. So first of all, let's solve the left hand limit. So over here again we have the same thing, the formula, that is 2 sin square 2x. Over here I have x square, so I'll just multiply and divide by 4 over here. So this whole will become 1, so 4 into 2, it will come out to be 8. So from here I can say a is 8, but I do have to check for the other part. So how do I check for the other part? Just solve it up. So when we have it like this, we will just rationalize. So I'll just rationalize it by 16 plus root x. Then we will have plus over here, and we will have this. I can write as, if I multiply by the same, so I can write it as 16 plus root x, and this will be minus 16, a minus b whole square formula. I have just calculated quickly. So from here we can cancel this root x with this root x. So if I put the limit, what will I get? 4 plus 4, 8. So both the sides will give me answer as 8. So value of a is 8. A very important question has been asked in board couple of times. So what we have, the given function is continuous at x is equal to 0. What we have to do is we have to find the value of c, b and a over here. Just observe very carefully. Again we will say the left hand limit is equal to right hand limit is equal to value of the function. So now I'll just start from the left hand limit. Let's solve the left hand limit. So if I solve the left hand limit, just observe carefully. For left hand limit, it is sine a plus 1 x plus sine x upon x. So I'll just break this x into two parts, which I can do. So to make this one, what do? I'll just multiply and divide by a plus 1 over here. This whole thing will change to 1. This will change to 1. So what will I get? It will be a plus 1 here and 1 over there. So it is a plus 2, right? So this is my left hand limit. Now let's solve the right hand part. F of 0 is c. So this thing is equal to c. So let's solve the right hand side. So x tending to 0 plus fx is limit x tending to 0. Now the moment we see roots over here, what comes to our mind? We have to rationalize. So let's rationalize quickly. Over here I'll just get x plus bx square plus root x, and it will be bx 3 by 2. This will be x plus bx square plus root x. This is within square. So applying the formula, which is a plus b, a minus b, in the numerator, we'll get x plus bx square minus x, right? So this will get cancelled. We will have bx 3 by 2, and this will be root x plus bx square plus root x. So over here this b and this b will get cancelled, and x ki power 2 and x ki power 3 by 2. We'll just solve it up. What will we get? If I just solve it up, I'll get this as over here. So this is 2 minus 3 by 2 will give me root. So this will be over here. What will I get? I'll just get x power 1 by 2. And this will be under root of x plus bx square plus root x over here, right? Now what we will do? We observe we have x to power 1 by 2 in the numerator, so we will take root x from the denominator. Just let's do it over here. I'll just take root x common from the denominator. So it will be limit x tending to 0. We will have, I can write it as root x. So if I take root x common from the denominator, let's see what I'll get. X common. So it will be within square root 1 plus bx plus 1. So what I'll do, I'll just take root x common from these two factors, and if it comes outside, it will be root x. So we'll have 1 plus bx here, and this will be 1. So this and this will get cancelled. We have to get rid of x because otherwise the limit will tend to infinity, right? Now if I put the value as 0, what am I getting? It is, this whole factor will go. So 1 upon 1 plus 1, that is 1 upon 2, right? So what do we have? We have 1 upon 2, we have a plus 2, and we have c over here. So let's see what we will be getting. So what we will be getting over here is a plus 2 is equal to c is equal to 1 by 2. So c is 1 by 2 clearly. So a is equal to minus 2 plus 1 by 2. So it will come out to be minus 3 by 2. But we cannot find b over here. So what we will write for b? We will say b can take any value over here, because b does not depend on anything. So b can take any real value over here, and a and c have these values, right? Very important question. B can take any value. Next very important question. Now what we have, fx is equal to a sin pi by 2 x plus 1 tan x minus sin x upon x cube. Again it is given to be continuous at 0, and we have to find the value of a. So again we will say left hand limit is equal to right hand limit is equal to value of the function. So left hand limit I'll just solve. So it will come out to be this. So if I put x as 0, the function is still defined. So we'll directly put x as 0. Over here I'll get sin pi by 2. So a sin pi by 2 will give me answer as a. So left hand limit has come out to be a. Let's see what is right hand limit. Right hand limit is tan x. So if you see this question, just try to recall all the questions that we have done in class 11th, right? So what we have, limit x tending to 0, this can be written as sine upon cos minus sin x upon x cube, right? So I can take sin x common. So this is sin x common and take the LCM. So 1 minus cos x upon cos x, and this we have x cube over here. So this is tan x, right? So what we have, so this is limit x tending to 0. So what we have, this is sin x upon cos x will give me tan x. 1 minus cos x, in place of this I can just apply the formula 2 sin square x by 2. Just observe carefully. x cube can be written as x into x square. Over here x by 2 we have, so I'll just multiply and divide by 4. This will be 1, this will be 1. We know the result, and this will get cancelled. So what will I get? Half. So what do we know? Left hand limit is equal to right hand limit. So a is equal to half. Hence the result.